October 2025, I embark on a trip along the West Africa's northwest coast, starting in Morocco, visiting Casablanca and then Agadir before nipping across to the Canary Islands to visit Lanzarote, back across to Western Sahara, then south down to Senegal, the Gambia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, Liberia, Ivory Coast, finishing up in Ghana. Our first stop in Casablanca, where they're very proud of their sandy beaches, their enormous mosque, and a Catholic church with stained glass windows. But they are still most famous for the 1942 Bogart and Bergman movie, Casablanca. Our next stop was Agadir, and I can assure you these aeroplanes didn't land like this. They're merely displayed on the edge of a golf course. A cable car whisked us up to the top of the mountain, where there's views of the bay, and we visited a fortress, which is one of the few things left standing after the devastating earthquake in 1960, which destroyed most of the city. Yet another mosque, and the local market that sells just about everything. It is enormous, apparently the size of approximately 6 football pitches. It has 16 doors and claims to have over 5,000 stalls. We then stopped for refreshments in a local Medina before making the rather bumpy Atlantic crossing to Lanzarote, where we visit Mirador del Rio. Although having visited several times before, the spectacular view never fails to impress. This bizarre creature inhabits the lake in the caves. In fact, it's only about an inch long. Crossing back to Western Sahara, we are now entertained by the local police band. Before making our way past the endless queue of lorries on our way to find a beach. The hustle and bustle of street life is everywhere, with everybody trading with one another. We visited this charity-run school, who were very grateful for our donations. This Bedouin camel market claims to have over 1,000 camels for sale. Although owning camels among the Bedouins is seen as a status symbol, most of them are bred for meat. I do think the blonde one is particularly attractive. The government is trying to encourage the Bedouins to give up their nomadic ways by building houses that look like tents, but apparently they're still not interested. We arrived in Dakar, Western Sahara, in pouring rain, which is quite unusual as they normally only get 2 inches a year in the Sahara Desert. We drove miles out into the flooded desert to see a famous white sand dune, which unfortunately, because wet, is the same colour as all the others. Back on board over afternoon tea, we had an interesting talk about the intrepid explorers that sailed south to discover these countries. We've now reached Dakar in Senegal, which is the centre of the slave trade, and this slave market is where the poor wretches were kept in these awful dungeons until they were sent off on ships through what's known as the door of no return. It's a harrowing experience, but a small town has grown up where artists work to supply tourists with information. Their local art form seems to involve painting what looks like a crude design with just normal paint, and then gently sprinkling different coloured powders or sands over it. You won't believe what is revealed when they shake the powder off. This amazing artwork appears as if by magic. The local Catholic church is most impressive and has a wonderful painted ceiling. This massive statue is called the African Renaissance. It is even bigger than Christ the Redeemer and the Statue of Liberty. We head off for a trip on one of the few boats that can still be found afloat, but as you can see, our craft has been well maintained. Our next adventure was aboard a converted ex-army truck, which was also mechanically challenged. They appear to have plenty of police, although perhaps a shortage of police cars. Some of the local ladies don't like having their photographs taken and cover their faces. At this remote fishing village, they have no electricity, but plenty of old freezer cabinets to store their fish in. It would appear you can get the best selection of fish if you wade out to meet the fishing boat. The fish has to be cleaned and nothing is wasted, and then the boats are brought home among the cows on the beach. We're now arriving in the city of Freetown, Sierra Leone, where the traffic is almost as bad as Martlesham. We went to a local hotel for lunch, where we were entertained by the staff. Now, what I wasn't expecting to see was the National Railway Museum. Apparently, it's sponsored and supported by York Railway Museum. They have many exhibits, including the observation car built specially for Queen Elizabeth's visit in 1961, although, as it turned out, she never rode in it at all. We now arrive in the city of Monrovia in Liberia and taken to see some monuments that I really don't understand the purpose of. We visit yet another Catholic church and go to see the Peace Tree, which is actually constructed out of decommissioned guns. Arriving at Abidjan on the Ivory Coast, we see what will be the tallest structure in Africa when they've finished building this extravagant tower. And right next door is what must be the world's most extravagant Catholic church, so large that it will apparently seat 4,000 worshippers. All the walls are covered with stained glass panels depicting everyday life. We finally reach Takadari in Ghana and visit yet another slave castle. It's horrific to appreciate the extent of the slave trade that was carried on along this coast for some 300 years. It's sobering to realize that both the British and American economies were enriched on the fortunes made from this cruel trade. It's interesting to notice that all the fishing boats are in dock. This is because it's Tuesday and local tradition says you mustn't go fishing on Tuesday. It's bad luck. It's now time to make our way back to the airport for our flight home on a bus with an AA badge, although I feel that Ghana may be near the extreme of the AA breakdown coverage.